The movie starts with a man telling a police officer that he was drunk and swearing, but he also mentions having some documents for a complaint. He makes it clear that he won't go to court. The officer, Nestor, listens and gives the man a piece of paper to write down what happened. The man hesitantly agrees and starts writing. Nestor then asks a coworker for 2 days off, and the coworker says they can talk about it tomorrow. Nestor goes to a church to gather more information. There, the man explains how he kicked out a person who was swearing and banned him from the church. He shares more details about the incident while Nestor listens. Later, Nestor is driving with a colleague and mentions he's not feeling like working. He asks his colleague what he thinks his future will look like when he's older. The colleague notices something is wrong and asks what's bothering Nestor. Nestor gives a vague reply, suggesting he doesn't think he'll see his colleague much in the future. Nestor goes shopping for clothes and decides to visit his daughter, Roxana, at her salon. She greets him but reminds him to come to the back when he's in uniform. Nestor brushes it off and mentions he has 2 days off, which matches the school holiday. He casually tells her he plans to take her son, Radu, fishing, which confuses Roxana. Nestor gives her a piece of clothing he bought, but it doesn't fit well. He promises to come back and exchange it for a smaller size before leaving the salon. Nestor then goes to the station where he meets Karina David, a human trafficking expert. His boss tells him that 2 young girls who were witnesses in a trial against the Marika gang have gone missing and orders Nestor to find them. The boss suggests that Coco, the old man they are investigating, might be involved in something. Karina smirks and tells Nestor that this case will be worth his time and will likely be quite entertaining. Nestor gathers his team and briefs them on the situation, showing them the report about the 2 missing girls. They quickly head to the old man's house, but his son refuses to let them enter. Unbothered, Nestor warns the son that they will return with backup, and the son, wanting to avoid trouble, reluctantly agrees. Later, Nestor and his partner, Servasiu, sit in a cafe, watching a young man named Raj working outside. The cafe owner calls Raj over and asks him to show his ID to Nestor. Nestor, curious, asks why Raj is wearing a shirt, and the cafe owner casually says it's Raj's choice, then hands him a jacket. Nestor leaves his team at the cafe and goes into another room with the owner. He shows the owner a picture of the 2 missing girls, Angela and Carmen, but she acts clueless, leaving Nestor frustrated with the lack of information. Meanwhile, Nestor visits another nearby cafe, where his conversation with the owner is much more relaxed, suggesting they are familiar with each other. They chat for a bit, hinting at a deeper connection. Nestor shows her the pictures of the girls and asks if she knows them. She mentions that the blonde girl was there yesterday and shares some details. Nestor asks her to come to him with more information before leaving. Nestor and Servasiu then find a trailer where 2 girls are sitting. They approach and inform the girls that they cannot stay there and that they are taking them to the station. 2 girls were taken into custody and brought to the police station. Nestor and Servasiu collected their identification and scanned the cards. Nestor then sat down with one of the girls to ask her some questions. He inquired about her background and her reason for being there. She replied that she was waiting for someone. She tried to flirt with him, but Servasiu interrupted. The girl then mentioned she was hungry and wanted to go. Nestor and the girl, named Heidi, headed to a diner to grab a bite. Once they were seated, Nestor told her she needed to speak with Karina and made the call. Heidi took the phone, but quickly returned it to him. Nestor informed Karina that Heidi wasn't ready to talk. Their food arrived, and Nestor asked for Heidi's phone number, but she declined to share it. He gave her his number instead, suggesting she could reach out if she changed her mind. He then called someone to update them on their location. Heidi questioned if he was trying to intimidate her, and he pressed her for information about Valentina. She insisted she wanted nothing to do with them, but he told her to reassure them she was with them. She then requested to go home. When they arrived at her place, she pointed out her house and mentioned living with her boyfriend. Just as she was about to exit the car, he asked how she got involved with Marika. She replied it was a past mistake and got out of the car. Nestor followed her into the building, but then decided to leave and return to his vehicle. Nestor parked the car at the corner and watched the building from afar. He noticed Heidi and her boyfriend leaving, so he drove over to them. Heidi's boyfriend told him to move, and Nestor replied that he should walk first. The boyfriend then hit Nestor's car, prompting Nestor to get out. They began to argue, attracting a crowd, and Nestor claimed he was a cop. One guy tried to flirt with Heidi, but she pushed him away and got into Nestor's car. While driving, Nestor asked if the guy was her boyfriend, but Heidi just said he was an idiot. He then asked if she would talk to the inspector now and called her. Back at the station, Nestor was called by his boss. His boss told him that Heidi identified 2 men with a felony who hung around the nightclub and were probably sent by Marika. Later that night, Nestor and Heidi went for coffee. During the drive, Heidi gently touched his face. After dropping her off, Nestor went home. He soon received a call from Heidi, asking him to pick her up. He told her to stay where she was and called someone to report that the girl they sent to the unit was out and needed a ride. The next morning, Nestor attended a meeting about a gas leak complaint. Afterward, Udrija confronted him, upset that Heidi wasn't following their instructions. Nestor then went to a diner with another officer and asked for Raj. They were told Raj wasn't there. Nestor later visited the Reverend and inquired if he had blessed Coco's house. When the Reverend asked why, Nestor explained he was searching for a girl. The Reverend said he couldn't do that in his uniform. Nestor pleaded, but the Reverend stood firm. He then went to a furniture store and asked the owner, Tudos, if he had finished work for Coco. He showed him a picture and asked if he had seen the girls. Tudos said he had seen the brunette and mentioned that Coco was sick. Nestor asked if Coco had given him the cigarettes on the table, and Tudos confirmed, adding that there were more in the attic. Later, while he was shopping, he received a call and went to check on a young boy who was asleep. He asked where Heidi was, and the boy informed him she was at Darina's. Nestor headed to Darina's house, where she warned him that Heidi was in shock and wouldn't stop talking. He attempted to talk to her, but Heidi was unresponsive. He suggested they take a ride, and just as she was about to decline, Darina insisted she couldn't stay, prompting Heidi to leave with him. Nestor asked if it was all right to go to his place, and Heidi agreed, so he drove her home. Once inside, she remarked that she hadn't expected his house to look like this. While they sat down, he asked if there was anything she wanted to share. She replied there was nothing and asked if she could take a shower. While she showered, Nestor prepared a bed on the couch. He brought her clean clothes and then went to the kitchen to make dinner. He offered her a sandwich and she accepted. Then, she approached him and tried to remove his shirt. When he pushed her away, she took off her own shirt and kissed him. They fell onto the couch and became intimate. Afterward, they went to bed and slept. The next morning, Nestor woke up while Heidi was still asleep. He pulled the blanket off her to wake her up. During breakfast, Heidi asked him to get her ID so she could go to Spain. She invited him to join her for the weekend, and he said he would think about it. He then told her to stay put while he left for work. A man came in to report his wife missing. Nestor found him dull and told him to write his statement and leave. Afterward, Nestor asked Udrija for a day off the next day, which Udrija granted. When Nestor got home, he realized Heidi was not there. He tried to call her, but her phone was still at home. He searched the house for clues, but found nothing. He went back to Darina to ask about Heidi, but she claimed she didn't know and wanted nothing to do with her, then shut the door on him. That night, Nestor went out for drinks, but later went to the trailer where he first met Heidi and saw her with another man. He left quietly. The next morning, Cervasiu called Nestor to show him Heidi's body. Nestor thought Coco might be involved and decided to confront him. Cervasiu sat down with Coco and his son, asking about Heidi. Coco's son admitted he knew her. Cervasiu started questioning him, asking if anyone might want to kill her. When asked where he was, Coco's son said he was at a party. He then asked for a list of everyone who attended the party. Cervasiu inquired about Raj, and Nestor mentioned that Raj worked for Romika. They went to the diner to talk to Romika about his activities and asked about Heidi. Cervasiu also wanted to know if Romika was aware that Raj and Heidi were together, but Romika had no information. When asked where he was the night before, Romika said he was there. As they left, Cervasiu asked Nestor where he had been recently, and Nestor replied that he had been home alone. Nestor then spoke with Karina, who told him she had checked on Marika's gangs, and they were all at the nightclub. She asked if he had anything to share, but he said no. She asked where Raj was, and he said he didn't know. She then informed him that they had already found Raj. The police discovered Raj dead. The colonel arrived and asked about the situation. Cervasiu told him they found a bruise on Heidi's body, indicating that she fought her attacker. He then ordered Nestor to bring the body, but Nestor struggled with the task. The colonel remarked that an old man couldn't kill and move a body on his own, thus removing Nestor from the suspect list. They returned to the diner, where the colonel told Nestor that an innocent person wouldn't have agreed to help with moving the body. Nestor replied that he was only trying to assist with the investigation. The colonel inquired about his watch, and Nestor said it was from his father, but it had been taken. Lastly, the colonel asked if there was anything more he'd like to share, but Nestor said there wasn't. Nestor then went to see his daughter for a haircut. The movie concludes with Nestor sitting in the chair, the mystery unsolved. And with that, the movie ends.